Hello again. What do stories say? I'm Dr. Pauline Baird, your cultural bearer from the village of Buxton, Guyana, and I like to tell the stories of my village. In these episodes, I've been telling my story about being a sojourner in the bush. I went on a journey to spend time in the Guyana's jungles in doing what we call the national service in reciprocity for the education we've been given at tertiary institution. I had been at Guyana School of Agriculture, and it was mandatory that I do national service. So I talked about the journey getting there. I talked about getting there. I talked about my work experience with my friend from Buxton. I talked about how I was given this job as domestic, which I had an aversion to, and practically stopped that kind of thing. So it's time to leave this base and go back to the big base. Now, like I said, we were practicing the foot drills and so on. We were pretty good at it. We had to do our 14-mile run. So every day we would run in the jungle, and it was so beautiful. I can't tell you how much I enjoyed that. It was peaceful. Awesome. Guyana is a very, very beautiful country. The flora, we're pristine in that area, beautiful, lush. I can't even explain. Moss. I never knew moss could glisten like that, you know. Listening to the sounds of the native people of Guyana in their homes, in the jungle. We could hear them talking, but we never really got to see them. One guy showed us, where we think they are, they're not there, and when you hear them, you can't go in a linear fashion to their house. Their walkway or their trail to their house might start somewhere different. So you can't just look over and then jump in the bush to go to their house. Even though you hear them there, the trail might be somewhere else because they live down trails. We didn't have roads where we were walking. There was just trails in bushes, huge canopy, and stuff like that. So we had to leave this peaceful place to go back to Matthews Ridge for the passing out. Now, we have to do weapons. I learned some things about weapons. Weapons is like your boyfriend or your man. When you're issued a rifle, you got to keep it across your lap all the time. It cannot escape your eyes. You have to have it all the time. And you don't point weapons. Empty weapons kill people. You never point a gun or a weapon at anybody at all. You can get court-martialed for that and a lot of bad punishment. So you have to keep this thing like your boyfriend with you. So we learned how to break down this rifle, how to build it back up, how to clean it and everything like that, how to walk with it, how to drill with it, all of that stuff. And so there was going to be a time when you have to do your shooting. You have to pass out. You got to show you can shoot, right? Oh my goodness, I was so excited because I want to shoot gun. And so I was like behind a woman. This woman was on the base with me. She was a university student. She wasn't in our cohort at Guyana School of Agriculture. She was a university student studying pharmacology or something or other like that. And she was a mother. She had a son who was about 17 years old. And it really brought home to me that anyone and everyone had to go, as far as I knew, whether you were a mom or a dad. And she was in the line ahead of me. And, they would put the sandbag a couple of feet in front of you, and they would issue the order. A magazine of 10 rounds is in front of you. Shoot! And when they say that, you got to drop. You drop your body in a certain way. You got to drop like a bag of lead or something. There's a particular way to drop your body. And you drop your body and you pick up your rifle and you stick it in the meat of your shoulder and you set your sights and you're ready to go. When the people say magazine of 10 rounds in front of you, go. All I hear is kufum, 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 kufum. I said, what is this? This big woman in front of me, a cry, and the more she got kufum, then she went out into straight up bawling. A woman a bawl for so. I say, it is, what do she? And they're busy hollering and insulting, and so, because you know, in the military, just proper insult people. You talk about insult. Let me break the story a little bit for you. They been get one man, one Indian guy who been there. When they buy a march, you march like a German, 2 left foot. If you see, you go right, left. But when he go right, he right hand and he right foot are go in front. And then he left foot and he left foot are go together. And so you go. It's really crazy. Look, when you see that begin to insult this guy, let's say your name Balram. Balram! You're walking like you're thief in egg. And you see when they holler so? We were on a plateau. And this thing would echo all around the valley. Balram, 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 Balram. You're walking like egg. Oh my gosh, it was something else. They say you're walking like a thief in egg. He walking like an egg between the legs, all manner of stuff. Insult for so. So this lady getting all kind of insult. And she's just broke down. And then somebody came and removed her. So they told me, you go next. And by the time they say magazine at 10 rounds on the ground, sister girl was down there, blood down, blood down, blood down, blood down, you know, shooting on a range. I enjoyed that. Later that evening when I saw her, I asked her, well, Miss So-and-so, what happened? And she told me that when they said to drop and pick up this gun, all she could see is her son. I said, well, why you would see a son? You know, I ain't got the thinking. She said, well, you know, war means that people have to die. And she would not like her son to be on the battlefield shooting guns because the shooter can be shot. And she went into all this stuff. She imagined the worst case scenario. I'm 20 years old, ain't thinking nothing like that. It occurred to me that this whole business of the military and guns had so many sides that I hadn't considered. So I grew up a little that day, yes. Of course, we couldn't do a lot of things that the others did, but there was the walk into the 140 paces a minute, which I was never interested in, this militaristic style of behavior. But I got away because they had a cultural performance that they would put on every year. And luckily, there was a thing that my friends and I used to do at GSA. And so we volunteered this act. So it was me and Gavin Ben and Ann Mitchell. So Ann used to play the guitar and sing, and Gavin Ben and I used to perform a dance. So we used to perform this thing, woman go home, your husband is dead. Woman go home, your husband is dead. La la da 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 da. You know, first he's sick and then he whatever and then he dead and she not go home. So we used to dance to that. And when this whatever lieutenant who loved culture heard of it, he loved our act. Guess what? We ain't going to no muster. We not going to all of these hard things. We get easy street, sweet life because we got to go and perform and you know, rehearse and so on. So that was nice. We did our performance. We passed out of the place and it was back home. I can't tell you much about the ride back. I think it must have been as bad as it was going because we were on the Jaimito going back. You know, it's a puking here and a that there and a whatever. But what was, let's see, remarkable for me in the trip back is how I saw Guyana. When we were almost there, people saying, we're almost there, we're almost to Georgetown. And they were looking and saying, look, we can see Georgetown. And I looked and I didn't see Georgetown anywhere. Just horizon. And they said, look, and they pointed. And when they pointed, it was down. Georgetown was down. So we were in the ocean up here and we were down. You see, I grew up 7 houses from the Atlantic Ocean. And we always used to say we go up the seawalls because Guyana is about 7 feet below sea level, the coast of Guyana. So you see it when you're on the land, you're going up to the seawalls. But when you're in the ocean coming in, you don't realize, unless you're in a boat, you don't know what that looks like. And so You know, that song came back. When your ship has passed the ocean and the blue sea turns to brown and the lightsman said, the fire, you see that smokeless wooden town, you will know that you are down in Demerara. I don't know all the words, but I could see what they're talking about, you know, when they put down their line and how they can see, you know, how many miles down you can see this smokeless wooden town, which was Georgetown. We could see the lights twinkling because we got in at night, and so we could see Georgetown way below. That was remarkable. In all my travels, I don't think I've ever experienced something like that. So it was good to get back to land and out of the Guyana National Service. The people and the figures I've spoken about, some of them are my classmates. I've met them before. Again, we've talked these stories. The characters in the Guyana National Service, I'd never seen them again. Never. Ever. And, you know, I went on to Sir Potter College of Education, was required to do more national service. Luckily, they said they didn't have money, so I didn't get to go. I went to University of Guyana, and again, they couldn't have us. And by that time, you know, I was ready to leave the country. So those are my adventures, my amazing adventures of being in the bush via the Guyana National Service. I must say that I'm honored to be a product of Guyana, given free education. You know, when you leave school at 16 and you go become a pupil teacher until you're 17, and then you start your college career at these tertiary institutions, you rack up a lot of credentials and stuff by the time you're 20, 25, and so on, which might not be the same for people around the world because you start early. I think I had a great privilege of getting that kind of education. I made the most of it. And so when I hear education is costly in Guyana, or there's a fee for it, it kind of takes me aback. But I understand what that means because I went to school abroad and I had to pay for what I got at home for free. You know, so I was willing to serve, but yeah, it was a little bit hair-raising there. Yeah. And so your humble servant did not have to stay there and bake bread and all of that stuff because we had no work on Saturdays. Saturdays we walked the jungle and enjoyed nature. So if you got stories like this, talk the thing and we tell the stories, share them with our children, share them with our friends. If you feel like you want to follow what the stories say, please do. You friend me on Facebook, I'm happy to be your friend. But me and the show are two different things. Me name Pauline Bear, the show name What the Story Say. Follow the button, What the Story Say. Click the button and follow. If you're on YouTube, subscribe if you so desire. Share with your friends and let's talk. Have a good one and walk good.